Welcome to Anthologic, the TV anthology podcast. I am your host, Mark. Join me and my guests on phase 2 of this project, where we're on a journey to explore the good, the bad, and the odd of TV anthology shows, season by season. Shows with a strong element of horror, science fiction, and mystery suspense drama. Join us as we slip through the cracks of reality to approach the extremes of experience, where we can peruse the stories and art of a sinister fairground of strange and wonderful rides. There is no going back. Don't say you haven't been warned. Welcome to this episode of Anthologic Phase 2 with your host Mark, and joined again, these lovely fellas that come back and put themselves through this. I'm joined by, do you two want to introduce yourselves?
Hello, I'm Scott, one of the hosts of the Real Britannia podcast.
And I'm Stephen, one of the other hosts of the Real Britannia podcast.
Yep. And I mean, people that have listened to the first few of the phase 2 will know you guys. You've been on for Inside Number 9, season 1, series 1. Oh, I always say that. Sorry, I've watched so much American stuff. It's my own fault. And last time was Dead of Night. We watched 3 episodes from Dead of Night. Today we are really talking about Nigel Kneale's Beasts, an anthology series from 1976 he did for Anglia TV, independent TV, not the BBC. He fell out of love with the BBC at some point after the Quatermassey stuff and a few other things he did for them, but he was much more interested in sort of commercial, what commercial TV sort of offered. So he did that, but however, before that series, he did a one-off for a series of plays that were the theme of which was going against the conventions, being unconventional. It's called Against the Crowd, and I think it was episode 3 of that was written by Nigel Kneale, and it was called Moraine. An old-fashioned term to mean blight or plague, animal plague. That's what it means. Now, Stephen, unfortunately, you didn't get a chance to see this, did you?
I didn't. No, I didn't. Harder with my limited internet. So.
Yes. But Scott, you managed to, so we could discuss. We'll be more brief about that because it's be only 2 of us. However, it is in some ways the most interesting of them all because it was very well regarded and it led to ATV asking Nigel Kneale if he wanted to work with them more, and it led to the commissioning of Beasts. So it's like we can thank Moraine for Beasts coming about. And to be honest, you could have put Moraine inside the series Beasts and it wouldn't have felt out of place. It was very thematically and sort of how it looked and how it was written felt very, very similar. Would you agree, Scott?
It's an absolute precursor to Beasts, and you can see why he was commissioned to write the next 6. I'm really tempted to say to Stephen that this one is the best one out of the lot, mate. You've missed a real treat, but it sits there.
Just rub my nose in it, yeah.
But I watched this. I'd seen a couple of the Beast episodes before, Mark, but this one I'd never seen. I wasn't even aware, and having Bernard Lee in it as well was a brilliant surprise. And
like a million. Bernard Lee, most famous as M in the early first, several James Bond films. Totally different character. Right?
Yeah, but it sort of reminded me of the stuff he used to do in the 50s where he was playing Yorkshire farmers and just working men rather than a civil servant that most people remember him as now.
Yeah.
And it was really great. Real folk horror vibes. We're at the peak of the folk horror sort of era at this time.
Before it was even called folk horror, right?
Exactly.
As well. We've got to remember that.
Exactly.
It was in the air. Well, something that Nigel Kneale's always kind of been plugged into, Quatermass in the Pit is possibly, it's often left out of the conversation, is possibly the prototypical folk horror, British folk horror movie in its themes.
Yeah.
The things being in the earth and coming out, even though it's sci-fi as well and all that. The things in the earth are often a folk horror thing, right? That's what I often
Exactly.
a folk horror thing. But yeah, so yeah, this was a 50-minute episode. As I say, it was from one of 7 plays, but it got quite a lot of attention. I checked it on IMDb, and in fact, it's the only one of the 7 that's got any
I
kind
was
of
going to
rating.
ask. Oh,
No
is it the only one that
one's
survives?
no, I don't know. I couldn't tell you that because I
Mm,
didn't look at it. I did have a quick look for them, but couldn't find any. But whether it's just not around anymore, I don't know.
mm,
Whether they've never put it out because of lack of interest, I don't know. I do know Moraine, I think, has been included in the Beasts DVD set.
yeah.
Um, I so that's how that survives. But it's the only one that appears to have any kind of ratings on IMDb.
Mm,
So no one else has chosen to comment on any of the others. I've no idea of what sort of quality they are, but this was superb. Most TV plays are okay to good, aren't they?
I
Let's put it
loved
that.
it.
This was
Yeah.
top tier
I
TV.
absolutely, it gripped me from the start, mainly because, first of all, the cast is absolutely brilliant, as I say.
Yeah,
And it went in a direction I didn't think it was going to go. It focused on the old woman in the cottage.
mm,
And I honestly thought, because you said it's a sort of a precursor to Beasts and you could see why it was commissioned and all of this, I thought it was going to focus more on sort of the animal side of things because, we've got the vet at the heart of this story
yeah, yeah,
and it turns into a complete sort of witchcraft story rather than a animal sort of psychological drama that we sort of
yeah.
get with the Beast things.
Well,
Um,
it's actually about persecution, I'd
mm,
say. But let's set the stage. Stephen, you can be our surrogate audience for this, right? It sets the stage by having these people talking about problems they're having with the animals. This vet visiting, youngish vet. Now, this actor, and I can't remember his name. You don't see. He's a familiar face from 70s TV, but I couldn't place him.
Simonon, someone's Simonon, isn't it?
The only way I could place him was I think he was the teacher, right? Get this.
mm,
In the young ones, they used to have these weird little sketches and asides in the middle of the comedy.
yeah,
I think they did a little parody of Grange Hill where a teacher was telling off the kids for being rude
did.
and obnoxious. And I think that was this actor.
I think it was, and I sort of
Yeah.
remember him from something like "Some Mothers Do Have 'Em" or one of those sitcoms from this time.
Yeah.
David Simonon, his name is, and he's
Yeah, or
very
Man About
familiar.
the House, or
Yeah,
something of a 70s comedy, and
very
possibly in
familiar.
ads from the 70s too. 70s actor, 70s
Mm,
TV actor. And I think this is the only time I've seen him act throughout as a significant role in anything. And he was really good. He was really
yeah,
good.
apparently, this will make us all think he was in a fish called Wanda, but I can't remember where.
Nah, don't,
No,
can't
no.
place that. Can't place that. um, but essentially, it turns out they're all moaning about the illness caused by this old lady. And the vet's like, what?
Mm,
And they've got a sick child, and the vet's saying, you really need to call the doctor. And he goes, we've done that. Doesn't get anywhere. It's proper old school. We don't go to the doctor, because
no.
he'll find you ill. It's all
Yeah.
that kind of well used to that attitude from the 70s, frankly. I remember it. But this kid is just sweating and sort of lying still and shivering a bit. Looks like a bad flu. That's how it
Yes.
looks,
Yeah.
right? And the intimation is we'll speed through the plot, but essentially, this old lady passed something to this boy, or he steal something from her? Like, was he scrumping or something
I
like
think it
that?
was something like that. There was some
Something like
contact,
that.
wasn't there? Because
So they
there's, yeah.
believe that she's passed it on, and they're really vindictive about it. However, the vet kind of gets concerned about the old lady and decides to go pay a visit. Goes and
Hmm.
talks to her and finds she's a bit strange, but she's basically living on gruel because she can't. They won't. Oh, she runs. They run the village shop as well. The wife. Sorry, the mother of the boy that's sick, and the wife. She's the wife of Bernard Lee, isn't she? Is she?
She, but no, not Bernard Lee.
No,
One of
it's
the
one
other
of the other
guys in the
players. Yeah,
crowd. Yeah.
yeah. Because there's like a whole about 4 or 5 yobbos, pretty much. All right.
It's a lynch mob, isn't it?
Yeah,
Basically. Yeah.
basically. And it finds out they've been deprived of her of anything, and she mentions when he cut off my water.
Mm.
And one of the sort of things was Bernard Lee as the head of this pack, and it was a bit like the pack in Straw Dogs,
I was just
wasn't it?
about to
It
say
was
Straw Dogs. As soon as you said
it,
that, yeah,
it was reminiscent of that kind of vibe. Peter Vaughan was that character in Straw
that's
Dogs.
it. Mm.
Peter Vaughan actually did appear in one of these plays as well. I
Oh,
did manage
okay.
to see his name, so it was that kind of actor was in those sort of plays. And basically, it transpires that he deliberately cut off her water supply, so she has to get water from a ditch and boil it.
Mm.
But then he's complaining to the vet his water supply's dried up, right?
Yes.
After he cut off her water supply, his water supply, to water the pigs, so he's having to pump it and pay money to pump water up for his pigs. And they're falling ill as well, and stuff like that. And they're blaming this one. Anyway, he goes up and she starts talking about, I haven't got anything, and how one of the little girls used to come up and play, and called her Granny, and she basically gets called Granny after this point, doesn't she?
I thought this was where it was going to really turn at one
Yeah,
point
yeah,
because she's got a doll and she's holding this child's doll
dull.
and saying that the girls used to come and visit me and they'd look after me. I'd look after them and I thought, oh my God, where's this? I thought it was going to go very dark at that
Yeah,
point.
and
Yeah,
they did. Doesn't one of the lynch mob actually asked him when you were there? Did you see any figures or doll or
something. That's
something like
yeah.
that? But that doesn't really get picked up, does it? It
No,
doesn't really get talked
no.
about. He mentions that she's tried to preserve some fruit. She's got it in jars. Mention of anything organic in jars sets this lot off a bit, right? It's
Yeah.
all that. But anyway, the vet's like very kindly offers to go and get her some stuff, eggs, sugar, this, that, and the other. And she insists on giving him money. He says, "You don't have to give me any money," but she insists
Hmm.
on giving him her money, right? And
Yeah.
anyway, he goes back down to the village and says, by the time I get back to wherever, oh, this is set in the Peak District, but from the accents were a bit all over the place.
They were all over.
It was
Absolutely.
more the Yorkshire side than the Derbyshire side of the
Yeah, I'd say
Peak.
that.
It
Yeah.
sounded like. They do talk about going to
Better side, you
Buxton.
mean?
Yeah, yeah. Definitely. But I'm more used to, because I live near Derbyshire. I'm more used to so I could hear they weren't from Derbyshire. Let's put it that way. He talks about going to Buxton at one point. And he goes and buys the bread and eggs. He buys loads of stuff, and he gives her the money. She gives him the change, and then suddenly, Bernard Lee's like, "Are you getting all this food for? Is it just
Yeah.
for you?" And they all get suspicious, and then the woman screams her head off, saying, "She's give me her money."
Mm.
Like she's been tainted, right?
Yeah,
Like
she's petrified
cursed.
actually that she's been sort of in contact with something that
Absolutely
the woman's
petrified.
touched. Yeah.
Anyway, the vet clears off, but he's dropped all his stuff. He runs off because these guys are getting madder and madder.
Yeah.
But he does go back the next day and see Granny, and he's bought supplies from somewhere else for her, and she's just says slightly weird things, but nothing really extraordinary. I don't think. Did you pick up anything?
She starts becoming a little bit strange at this point. Um, is this the bit with the doll? We've already had the doll,
Yeah,
haven't
I
we, from the
can't
day
remember. No,
before?
no, this is the bit with the doll, because
Yeah. So
when he
her,
goes up there the first time, they ask, "Did you see any dolls?" And he says no. But then the
yeah.
second time, he finds a doll, and it's just a little rag doll. It doesn't look like a human being or anything. It's just
No,
very
because I thought at one point it was going to be some sort of voodoo type doll at one point.
yeah,
I thought
yeah.
we were going to go down that road. But up to this point, she's just genuinely come across as a poor woman that's been
That's been persecuted by
mistreated and
these
persecuted.
yobbos.
Yeah.
Yeah, it definitely comes across like that. But then it gets a little stranger, but not very. You still think I'm all against the yobs at this point in
Mm,
this story,
yeah.
because it feels like a story of persecution. So it's kind of interesting as an allegorical story in that way, right?
Mm,
And anyway, the vet does go back down. I can't remember why, but it turns out the woman is now stricken with the same thing, and they're like literally lying next to each other. Um, uh, uh, so there's something going on,
hmm
and then the discussion just gets more and more out of hand, and they basically decide they're going to storm up there. Right, the lynch mob gets
Yeah.
properly lynchy, right?
Yeah.
And I think they even say things like, don't suffer a witch and all that sort of stuff. Anyway, they all go up there mob-handed. There is one funny bit when he goes up there the first time that you could blink and miss it. Maybe there is one funny bit when he comes out of her house. The mob are there, but they're waiting just outside her land. They're not.
They're on the border.
Land.
Yes, they are.
Yeah,
literally.
they will not come onto her land.
Yeah.
Right?
No, I noticed that. Yeah.
Yeah, that was really fun, and it was really unusual. It was a little. You could have missed it if you weren't paying attention. You could have missed that.
It's sort of important in a way, mate, because they're not portrayed as this hysterical pitchfork wielding, mob.
Yeah,
They're actually frightened, and they're very sort of just wary of what's going on, even though they're angry.
yeah.
They're not your Frankenstein mob. They are, they're scared. You can
They're
see
scared.
them. Yeah.
But there is a lot of chatter with the vet saying, which is along the lines of, your modern science doesn't understand everything. There was, this is kind of standard in this sort of story, isn't it? There was a bit of that. But essentially, they lose their rag with all this, and they think the woman is cursed, someone's wife. And there's, they basically storm the land, and Bernard Lee is leading. And as basically they go onto her land, don't they, as part of this, and she's just comes out the door and she just throws her hands towards them, almost like casting a spell, but not quite. It's like open palmed, finger splayed kind of gesture, towards them, and Bernard Lee immediately clutches his chest and falls down dead, right? Dead for that attack. And I think then Granny says yes, or I can't remember. She says one word and then just goes back into her little shack. And the vet's kind of mortified, and that crash ended, right?
Well, it wasn't the original ending.
Oh, really? Okay.
Apparently, I did a little bit of digging. He manages to get her away from the cottage in this alternate ending that was, I don't know whether they decided that they wanted more of a dramatic boom, sort of like Bernard Lee dropping down dead ending. But he manages to get her out of the cottage and gets her rehoused in a council flat. Just sounds really just drawn out, basically. And it just ends really bizarrely with when he gets in his car, big smile on his face, he's won, sort of thing. His car engine is dead, basically. She's had some effect on technology or whatever. But I think this ending.
Oh, this is a way better.
Much better. Yeah, absolutely.
Really well acted. Wordy in the way 70s plays, and a bit stagey the way 70s play for today and stuff like that are a bit like Dead of Night, right?
Yeah,
it's cut from a very similar cloth, even though it was like 5 years later. Done on VT as well. It's not a film, it's VT. Very effective. I think I've seen this 4 times now, and it never gets less interesting, I think is the word.
I need to watch it again because as I was watching it, I'm thinking, blimey, if this is the quality of what I've got coming up over the next 6 episodes of Beasts, I'm in for a real treat. We'd set the benchmark really high with this first one. And the bizarre thing as well, you saying it was filmed on videotape, with the move from BBC to ITV, Nigel Kneale's budget was constricted because they didn't have the luxury of the BBC's big license fee budget, So when we get to the 6 episodes of Beast, the majority of it is all filmed on VT, as you say. And mainly one single setting, studio bound.
And mostly small casts. Not all of them. Some of them are quite big casts.
But it doesn't need...
Often it's small cast.
It doesn't need the budget, as we're going to find out when we talk about
They're
the next...
playlets in effect, aren't they, mostly? But yes. So... you missed out there, Stephen. Big recommend from us if you get a chance. We'll find out what you thought of Beasts. If you hated it, you ain't gonna like this. Maybe.
That's true. Yeah, you might not have liked the rest of them.
But it is cut from the same cloth, definitely.
Yeah,
you can feel it. And I presume, it was again with Anglia. Both were Anglia, I believe. They just were happy with Neil's work. He had a chance to do his thing. Now, Beasts. Okay, let's get on to Beasts. This is really about the nature as an animal element in all of these stories. But the question always is, are we the beasts?
Yes.
Isn't it? That's what's going on. So let's take it in how it was shown all done. So the first one's Special Offer, with Pauline Quirk is probably the most significant name we could bring to this. Let's get to Stephen. Give him a chance to talk. Stephen, what did you think of this first one?
Well, yeah, like I quipped in the WhatsApp group, Carry On in the supermarket, with Carrie being like the Stephen King. I think it was, an interesting premise, obviously, especially for the time, given the, okay, Carrie had come out before then, so.
Carrie came out after this, I believe.
Well,
the
book.
The movie
the
came
book.
out.
The book. Sorry,
the book came out before.
You are correct.
Yeah. So, in some ways it could be a bit derivative in that sense, but then, what is original? But I think, obviously looking past the like you say, it's all of these is constricted with the amount of scene locations and cast numbers, because it's just in the same time, same as what we had with Doctor Who at the time and other things, where it's shaky sets and limited numbers because of budgets. But I think it was an interesting premise. I mean, the only thing I think my main criticism is it's just, I think it could have been a half an hour episode rather than a full almost an hour. And I think that applies to most of them, unfortunately, that they could have been tighter in that sense. But the performances, I think, lift it. And Pauline Quirk, I mean, who I think is unfortunately badly remembered, just because of Birds of a Feather and not really given the credit that she deserves as an actress. And in this, one of her first performances, I think, on certainly on screen, I think she says she's really the main, and she carries it, and she, in some ways, doing bits and pieces of being distressed about something that she doesn't really understand herself, but also in other ways being incredibly creepy and stoic to try and get across in that sense. So I think that this one. Yeah, if it had been a bit tighter, I think some of the maybe the unevenness that was there might have, with the plotting, might have been taken out, or they could have done a bit more with the relationship side and the jealousy that's kind of implied or depicted. But no, overall, I think as an opener, I think it is. One of the better ones, to be honest.
Yeah, I agree. It's one of the better ones. I just want to pick up your point on the length. Yeah, I agree that quite a lot of these could have been truncated, but this is one for me. This one's like one of the exceptions to that. I feel like what they put in, the sympathetic senior manager stuff and things like that, actually filled the time for me. But I totally buy that. That sort of subplot or element could have been truncated or dropped somewhat as well. And weirdly, I did remember this series being half an hour. It's only when we started watching this, it was like, they're 50 minutes. And it's what made me laugh is how long the part one was.
Just about to say that. Normally you'd get two breaks, wouldn't you, in a 45, 50 minute episode.
Yeah, I mean, if you compare it to what we have now, this you'd have had at least three commercial breaks in the period of time that you had there, and that just shows. I mean, and that's judging by our television. I mean, if any of us that have experienced over in like the States, for example, I mean, they have commercial breaks in the middle of the end credits, and
wow.
it's amazing that it's every 7 minutes or so they'll have a commercial break, and they do it in the credits, so they can still charge the people to say it was within the actual program, because apparently less people watch commercials between programs because they're turning over. So, but yes, this all of them obviously they're done in two parts, and absolutely what you just said there. It's amazing how long it goes before you get a commercial break.
It's almost it's shocking
Yeah.
when if you
Yeah.
haven't seen some old telly in a while. It's shocking. I think it went 24 minutes
I think it
to the
did.
end
It was
part one,
probably even a
something
bit longer
like
in some, yeah.
that. Yeah,
Just to confirm, Mark, this was screened on a Saturday night on ITV, is that right?
and yes, I believe
Yeah.
so. Now, I always assumed before I watched the series, I assumed it was like 70. But there's stuff
Yeah.
in some of these episodes that
Yeah.
clearly was post watershed. It
Yeah.
must have been 9 o'clock onwards.
Has to be because of the couple of the scenes in the dolphin episode, definitely.
Yeah, definitely. And
Oh,
there's swearing in some of the others.
what was? I mean, obviously, I was. I think when this was broadcast, I think I was about 4 months old. But the I don't know when this watershed thing of 9 o'clock actually proper came in as an actual
It wasn't during the 70s, no.
imposed thing, because I seem to remember that being something that was more pushed as a response to Mary Whitehouse in the mid to late 80s,
It
rather than it
was.
being before then. So yes, now this been done well. I, I think possibly the sensibilities of people now, it wouldn't necessarily have to be after 9 o'clock. But yeah, you would expect this to be something that was for a more mature audience, that due to potential scares for younger people and the impact that could have upon them. I mean, look at Mark,
Yeah.
the damage it's done to him.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you. Yeah, and I appreciate that damage. It's fine.
Yeah, it's made you the man you
Interesting.
are. Yeah,
Yeah. You mentioned Carrie. It's interesting because Pauline Quirk's look and the way she's acting is actually very reminiscent of the Carrie from the book. The Carrie from the book is quite different from the Sissy Spacek kind of
yeah,
character
yeah.
we're used to. She's, overweight, she's spotty, she's greasy skin, she's got bad hair, she's
Mm.
nervous around people, says the wrong things. All of the things Pauline Quirk was doing. And to just, you mentioned her acting ability. Yeah, I always thought Pauline Quirk was a great actor. And in this, she proves it at a very young age, acting great. And when she does serious drama, she's good at. In Birds of a Feather, she's a good actress, right? But it's a comedy show, so it's broad, right?
Yeah.
So when you see her in more dramatic, which isn't very much, she's very good, and she was very good in this.
Mark, do you remember about this sort of time? She had her own kids' TV show.
Yeah, you must be joking, was it?
Yeah, and then there was Pauline's Quirks as well.
Pauline's Quirks, that was it.
Yeah,
Yes, yes.
yeah. So
And
she
they
was
did
she was
sketches
quite
and things.
yeah. So she was quite a familiar face, but she was more. We knew her as aimed towards the kids' entertainment side of things
Yeah,
rather than
kids
this,
knew
didn't
her
we?
face.
Yeah,
Kids knew her face, that's for sure. So it would have been a shock if a kid had come across this. But I just like the little touches, like badly applied lipstick, but also lipstick on the teeth.
yes,
You
that
On
was
the
know,
very
teeth,
yeah.
yes, that
yeah,
was a very
things
good
like that.
touch. Yeah,
Yeah. I think this episode also highlighted something about the way Nigel Kneale writes relationships between men and women. His men are just terrible to women.
Every
Almost.
episode, every single episode, you can highlight that.
And this
Mm.
manager was awful to this young girl, but
Yeah.
everyone was, because she was a bit creepy, right? And no
yeah,
one
but
really
isn't
liked her.
that indicative of the era? Weren't men
Yeah,
before a certain point in time, a lot of them, just the way the stereotypes were, and
I don't know,
social
man.
types and stuff.
Yeah.
I think they were
Uh,
particularly
uh,
bad. The men, the writing
oh
for the men in
yeah,
this were
yeah,
just
but that
awful,
might be
man.
more from what I've heard about Nigel Kneale not being always the most pleasant of people. Maybe that's it, him putting himself into the
But this
characters.
it runs through every single episode. Misogyny and
Yeah, but
treatment of women is
just to be clear, the women are presented sympathetically and having to
Yeah.
bear this nonsense rather than
Yes.
yeah.
have it deserving it, right?
Yeah.
That it is written that way. It is written that way. The special effects guys must have had a field day in this one.
Brilliant.
They're pretty
Very
good.
good.
There's packets flying about and things exploding and liquid spraying everywhere. There's all sorts going on, and they're blaming it on the logo, aren't they? The rabbit logo. I forgot what it was called.
Right way, Billy.
Right way, Billy. Yeah.
Billy.
And we sort of get the impression it's some sort of rat-like creature running behind all the shelving and in the freezers and eating the food and knocking the
Yeah.
tins. And um, I did sort of pre-warn you that I had a little story to tell you about while I watched
Oh,
this.
go on, go on.
Do you
Um,
have a rat in your kitchen at the same time as this happening?
you don't know how close you are, mate. I was watching this in the dining room, eating my dinner when I came home from work, and it got to about 25 minutes in. Um, the first lot of tins have come crashing off the shelf, and then we get the second bigger sort of incident of this manifestation or whatever this poltergeist, this rat may be, and all the tins are flying off the shelf and the flowers bursting open and all this lot. And from the corner of my eye, I can see my kitchen door, and a mouse ran across the kitchen floor. My cup of tea nearly hit the ceiling. Um, I quickly finished my lunch and I had to go and watch it like in the front room afterwards because it was like watching it in 4D. It was brilliant. I had the extra special effect of a real life bit of vermin in my house at the time. I quickly put down some I had some mouse poison and I just thought, oh bloody hell, you know. And this story continues in the second episode as well. I'll tell you some more in a second.
Okay, yeah, more relevant to the second episode.
Yep, absolutely.
But yeah, it's interesting. I thought it was interesting that this the way the manager was just a lech, man. He was
Yeah.
hitting on the other sort of shop worker who was kind of into him, I think.
I think she was. I think she liked more the power
Yeah, she
of him
liked the
being a
fact he
store
was throwing his weight
manager.
about, which might have exacerbated the sort of bullying of Pauline
Yeah,
Quirk's character.
she
Right?
went on to be in the very first episodes of EastEnders.
She did. She was also in a series called Angels,
She was in
like
Angels.
training
That's right.
nurses.
Before that, yeah,
But she
absolutely,
was
yeah,
in the.
yeah.
She was married to the Scottish bloke Andy.
Andy and
I
Debbie,
can't
wasn't
remember
it? I
her.
think
Oh,
Debbie. I
Debbie was
think,
it? Yeah, I
yeah,
remember her from that. She was in this big hair. Yeah, big
yeah,
hair. And then later on, he gets to interview another woman who's a married woman but who's bored, and
yeah,
he's like trying it on almost instantly. And she's all right with it too. And it's like, okay. Okay. But yeah, I mean, the shop was proper run, it was nothing, wasn't it? And that's partly the set, but also it was a really third rate sort of
a
supermarket.
mini market as they used to
Yeah,
call them, wasn't it? I think back then,
yeah.
yeah.
But I quite like the character of the senior manager who actually goes and talks to the
It was
girl
good.
and
His
actually starts
sympathy and that was,
explaining
yeah.
part of what poltergeist is and things like that.
Mm,
And it could be, he says, no, she's not controlling it. It's just part of, it's these things are part of just manifest themselves, especially in sort of younger people, right? That's what he was talking about. But she was clearly, she said she sometimes saw, she was the only one who said they saw it, right? She said, I saw it. The
yeah.
rest of them, no one sees it, but it's obviously something there because it's throwing stuff about and bottles of stuff are falling over. But the senior manager comes in, well, a rat couldn't fit in that space, so it can't be that.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, rats can fit anywhere, mate. But yeah, and it went on, and obviously it hit its climax crescendo, didn't it? Quite dramatically, quite a dramatic ending to this one.
Yeah.
Um, I think this was one of the better ones. Is my What do you think, Stephen? Of the six, where would you put this roughly?
Well, I mean, I think that it there's it's not the weakest, isn't the to start off with. Having as a first episode is always going to be difficult to set a tone, and I think that there's other ones. I mean, we'll get on to what are the weaker ones, but this might not be the strongest, but certainly I think it's more relatable to people, and I think it putting aside some of the, as I say, the issues that I've already mentioned, I do think it's one of the stronger ones.
Yeah,
And yes, I think to some extent, a couple of them are derivative of other things that have come immediately before them, but this one I think still manages to do something that engages.
yeah. Great. What we'll do is, I think we'll rattle through the next five. Well, not rattle. We'll go through the next five and then just talk about them as a batch. Maybe that's the best thing is once we've talked about them all, the sort of general vibes and stuff like that. So we'll do it there maybe. Right. The second one was During Barty's Party, aired on the 23rd of October 1976. These basically were 1 week after the other through October and November of 1976. So During Barty's Party. Am I right in saying this is a two-hander? Is there more? I mean, we get some external voices, don't we?
No, you see the couple at the beginning in the car, but they're literally sidelined immediately.
Yeah. Something weird has happened to a couple in the car. And basically a husband, sort of middle-aged couple, her husband's returned to his wife and she's got the music up really loud, hasn't she? And she starts complaining she's hearing vermin, right? So any more stories there, Scott? Yeah? Oh,
well,
I'm going to save it for a bit.
No. Continuing on from my mouse tail, I moved into the front room to watch this episode immediately afterwards.
Oh, great.
And for listeners that haven't, not aware of what the story is, it's about a plague of rats that we don't see that are running through the walls and under the floorboards of this house, terrorizing this couple. And the genius of this episode is the use of sound, that we don't see a single rat, but we hear them and it escalates and it crescendos and it's absolutely terrifying use of sound. It's very, very clever. So, of course, I'm still sort of keeping an eye on the door in case my friend sort of appears from the kitchen. And in the half light, bearing in mind I've got this scratching and all of this rat sounds going on, the little bugger appears from the other corner of my living room and runs across the carpet. I don't know how he got in because I heard a rustle first of all, and I looked round and it shot across and went back into the kitchen. As I say, 4D. It's the only way to watch these now. I can't.
you want a vermin running around.
But you can imagine I was a little bit on edge anyway because
Come on, you jumped to the chair.
It was like a scene out of Tom and Jerry, mate.
I'm really looking forward to when you get onto the dolphin one. Then,
well, funny enough, you will never believe what happened.
The ghost of Flipper.
Yeah, I have to agree about the sound. It occurred to me when I was watching this, I was thinking this would work perfectly well as a radio play. Right.
Oh,
the sound is so significant.
It's amazing. It's over and above the acting ability. I mean, the two-hander is great, as you say. That the couple are fantastic, and again, highlighting this man's attitude towards his wife.
Yeah.
And he's sort of like the dominant force at the beginning, but as the terror ramps up in this episode, he becomes the weaker character and she becomes a little bit stronger.
I quite like that. He was actually toned down compared to the other men. Seeing the other episodes, right? He came across a bit brutish early on, but it kind of calms down a bit, doesn't it?
Yeah.
As it goes. The annoying disc jockey, but I kind of get it. But the real stomach churner for me is when they thought he was going to send help, and he actually said, "We're looking for so and so," and he got the surname wrong,
so they'd never be found. Exactly.
Yeah, God, that was a wrench.
That's clever. That was good. It was good because they're screaming at the radio.
Yeah, this one could definitely have been truncated though. I mean, Stephen's perfectly correct. This one could have worked very well as a 25-minute. In many respects, it was a bit of a Tales of the Unexpected.
The ending was a typical, knife to the heart, ending that's, oh my God, did it need it? I don't know as well, because I'd have been quite happy with its fading to dark without them going to the window at the end.
Yes, but basically it's about a plague of rats, and people keep reporting it, and others are saying we can't find them and all this. But there's like a mass of rats running around,
and they're immune to poison now, and they've become dominant,
super rats and things like that. Now, interestingly, we mentioned Carrie in terms of special.
I know where you're going. Yeah,
you mentioned James Herbert.
Yeah, I was just about to mention James Herbert. It just occurred to me. Honestly, I don't know why it never occurred to me. It just occurred to me. The Rats was also written in 1974, same year as Carrie, right?
There you go.
Famous in horror literature, those two books. and this is like nodding to right.
I've got another link to a news story in 74 for the next one for you as well.
Okay, cool.
I think this man is so contemporary with his writing. He's got his finger on the pulse. He's literally reacting to what's going on around
Which is
him,
interesting because he
Nigel
does that. I mean, if you look
Yeah.
at the original TV production of Quatermass and the Pit, it references the race riots that happened in
Exactly.
Notting Hill the
Yeah.
year before.
Yeah.
He's got his finger on the pulse on all sorts.
Yeah.
The first Quatermass finishes in Westminster Abbey, and just the year before, the Queen had been coronated, and was like the way that TV became popular.
Exactly. Yeah.
Buying them to watch the Queen.
Yeah.
So he likes plugging into popular culture.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I mean, I can't remember the name of it. There was a film in the 60s about a plague of rats, giant rats, I think it was back then.
Oh, yeah. No,
but that was some
Plague
science
of the
fiction
Plague of
film.
the Gods.
Right.
I think it was
Food of the Gods.
Food of the Gods. That's it.
You know, that's yeah. I mean, I'm not going to label a large amount of criticism with regards to a storyline or a premise being done before, because even them, you go back to the Pied Piper Hamlin or whatever. So nothing's really original. So it's what you do with it, and I think this episode, I mean, great performances, particularly from Elizabeth Seller, who didn't really get enough of for her career, because I think she took some career breaks and stuff because of what a lot of good actresses seem to have done is got married and taken a break from acting, and at the insistence of their relevant husband, but
domineering husbands.
Domineering husbands, as it turns out. But with the absolutely the caveat about the length of this, I think even then there is a certain amount of keeping up the tense mood throughout this, and some of that is through clever use of the radio DJ and the interactions where there's subtleties put in there where it's a lifeline, but that doesn't really work out, but there's an opportunity there. So I think this being basically a two-hander, that atmosphere and the tenseness, I think, is something that does help make it worthwhile. And yes, tighten it up as far as the length, but otherwise, I think that you feel their terror. I mean, especially if you've got a rodent in your own living room.
Absolutely.
It's. I think that it certainly conveys it across, and like Max said, the dynamic changes from him being the strong one to her being the strong one. It does actually tell a lot with regards to, I think, all, like you said, going through all of this, the strength of the female characters, and does perhaps show that this is a certain point in the 70s, which is topical with regards to women's lib and women being actually recognised as actual human beings rather than just add-ons. I think there's some subtleties in this that are relevant for it being better than it could be dismissed as.
Yeah.
She's the one that becomes really focused. She's the one that's desperately trying to find the way out of this situation, where he, in his former role as man of the house, he completely unravels. He's now got a threat to his manhood that he can't bully, which is what he does to his wife. And it's very clever. And this is the theme I think that we're going to have to pick up on as we go through some of the episodes. This whole relationship of man to woman is evident throughout the rest of the series.
Yeah, it's an interesting perspective, and it's like I don't, you could watch it and think, well, maybe Neil's a bit misogynist, but you could also there's nothing there to say no, he's highlighting issues with misogyny.
I think that's more correct. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a really interesting um, sort of series. I just like the fact, even though some of them feel overextended, I never got bored. I was always
Oh
intrigued.
yeah, no, same here.
Even there's some of these just do not work, right? But wasn't bored. Was happy with watching it.
Hmm.
You know, it's kind of interesting. There was one other I've got to mention this. There was one other connection between Neil Ratz, right?
Yeah,
Um, he wrote the 19 very famous 1954 version, BBC version of 1984 with
he
Peter
did.
Cushing.
Yeah,
Obviously, Winston Smith terrified of rats.
yeah.
So yeah. So it's not like he's nicking people's rats ideas, is it? Well, I guess he is if you get to talk about George Orwell, but you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, let's get to the next one, which I think is um interesting, right? Buddy Boy, which is we have a very young Martin Shaw who is really coming across like Doyle from The Professionals in this.
Yeah.
I think 3 years before The Professionals started airing.
I think about 77, 78. Yeah, yeah.
Martin Shaw. I can't remember the actor's name, but he's the Scottish bloke from It Ain't Half Hot Mum, isn't he?
Stuart
Yes.
McGugan.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's it. Is Mac? Is it Mac from It Ain't Half Hot Mum?
Yeah. And he also was it around about this time he was in Play School as well for a while.
Oh, okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
I've got to also mention another actor because he did a great performance in this. The actor playing Hubbard. The actor's name is Wolf Morris. I don't recall
Yeah.
him in much else. Probably in The Sweeney or something, maybe. But man, that was an intense, sweaty performance.
That was believable.
That was believable. Yeah,
I
I
found Martin
stress that.
Shaw's a little bit false, a little
Yeah.
bit stagey. But Wolf Morris's performance of a man desperate
To
to
get
sell
out
it,
of it.
yeah, that was very good. Yeah.
It's now this one for me is like I have no idea really what this is about.
Nope.
However, I kind of liked it because it was so weird.
Mm,
It was so weird. Um, I still don't think I can articulate really what it's about.
no,
Guilt, or
I
I, d- you know, it's about. Is it like a guilt over animal abuse? I really don't know. And why is Martin Shaw the focus and not Hubbard? If that's the case, though Hubbard is quite the focus in a lot of it, right?
yeah.
So it's about a dolphin. Let's just set the scene. It's about a man who's got a small time sort of I don't know sleazy. I don't know. It might be prostitution or porn.
Well, it's definitely like
Club,
movie cinema, porno cinemas, isn't it? That
yeah,
is his
clubs
thing.
and stuff.
Yeah,
And he wants to buy this disused aquarium for to build a cinema. It appears like, though it doesn't look suitable to be a cinema at all to me.
it's,
Anyway,
it's a bizarre setup because it's
yeah,
very small building that's got this not
massive
even
tank.
but even the tank wouldn't be big enough for a dolphin, you know.
Yeah,
And I'm thinking, well, what was the setup here? Because it's got the traditional sort of dolphinarium ladder where the keeper would climb
over
up
a
and the
tiny
hoops
little
and
pool,
yeah.
right?
And it's like, how on earth did that work? Because they said at the beginning that they'd ripped all the seats out previously, so
Yeah,
you
yeah.
couldn't see the auditorium as such.
Yeah, I think in this the set didn't match the script at all
No,
because they
no,
were talking about having several dolphins in there and stuff like that, and it just
yeah,
well, that isn't even suitable for one. Never mind about several. And the Hubbard keeps going on about Buddy, this one dolphin, Buddy Boy, kind of dominating the rest and not being a good dolphin, kind of stuff. It was really weird. And there's also this little like ragamuffin girl, sort of hiding, who turns out worked there and had some sort of psychic or connection with Buddy Boy.
yeah.
And she's very odd as a character because she's barely there in that she's kind of detached and away all the
Yeah.
time, isn't she? The whole thing she's away. She's thinking about Buddy Boy is the implication, right?
She's obsessed. She's communicating with
With a
his
dead dolphin.
ghost. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And this one, it's so bizarre. It borders literally on the absurd, but
It
at the
is.
same,
Yeah.
for me, it was probably my least favourite because I probably couldn't fathom this out. I don't think any of us could get to the bottom of this particular episode, to be
No.
honest.
Yeah.
And it was
I'd
just
agree with
bizarre.
that. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. What did you think, Stephen?
I think it was the weakest one in a number of ways. The Yes, Wolf Morris. I think that was a standout for this. His performance, and maybe should have been more of the focus of the actual, like you said, rather than the Martin Shaw character. But
Mm.
you know, putting aside the female character who was weird, but I think it's still difficult to have a connection with her. I think that and then the rest of them just being completely unlikable meant it was very difficult to connect with this. Like there was previously, you could have a certain amount of sympathy with Pauline Quirk's character or Elizabeth Sellers' character. This one, there's nobody to easily necessarily sympathise with or feel that you've got any connection with. And it was, like you said, it's difficult to try and explain it properly because it was fairly incoherent, a lot of it. And again, if it had been condensed, it might have been stripped out some of those bits and made the narrative a bit more strong and understandable, rather than it being. Unfortunately, I don't think it was very well paced. And yes, we know Martin Shaw is a good actor and was probably a good actor back then, but it was far too characterized and stereotyped and it's one of these where you're going, right, well, which part of the North are you choosing to be in this sentence? Because it flipped around and got stronger and weaker, and you weren't really sure where you were going with it. But I think the denouement wasn't really all that satisfying, really, because you hadn't really worked out what was happening too much, and there was inconsistencies in there, like you say, with regards to the set and the rest. That it just didn't really work as well as it could have done. I think it was that's why for me it's the weakest of them.
I have to say
unfortunately.
I've watched this one 3 times, and each time I watch it, I get I like watching it, but I hope to understand it better. And I
do
think I
you understand it
understand
less by watching it more?
It's maybe less. It's maybe less. It's like, well, the thing is, you miss little trivial asides. You kind of don't notice perhaps the first time, and then the second time it's like, well, that is his character isn't consistent either. That's one. So it's got lots of issues, right? No one likes anyone in it, right? We don't like anyone in it. The story doesn't really make any sense.
I think the link possibly is the exploitation of an intelligent, vulnerable creature such as the dolphin, which is then reflected in his treatment to the girl at the end, where he uses her and discards her.
Yeah.
That's sort of what I took away from it. But if that's what Nigel Kneale was trying to get at, it was a very weird way of doing it. It
So
really
that
was.
means he's what Hubbard did to Buddy Boy, short as
Is
was
reflected
it
in Martin
Dave?
Shaw's
Wasn't it
behaviour.
Dave?
Yeah,
Dave was
yeah.
reflected in, and it was just I have to say the sex scene always makes me laugh because it's just
his
so
face.
ridiculous.
His sex face.
And
I mean,
she looks like she's trying to work out what she's getting from the shop. Well, she's not even that. She's just not even thinking about anything. She's just staring into space. It was a bit disconcerting as a sex scene, but laughable as well.
I've tracked down where the basis and the background to this story came from.
Really? Go on.
Yeah. All right. Everybody's famous West End impresario, Mr. Paul Raymond, Raymond's Review Bar.
Oh, okay.
Okay. He, in 1974, took over a theatre in Holborn, the Royalty Theatre.
Yeah.
And he put on a show called The Royalty Follies.
Okay.
In the theatre, there was a 10,000-gallon tank weighing 65,000 tons with 2 dolphins called Pixie and Penny. The show ran for 12 weeks from April to June 1974.
Yeah.
The animals were trained to perform with strippers in the show.
Yeah.
There's a lovely photo from the Sun, I'm assuming, or the Mirror, with one of these half-naked women in the pool with the dolphin and the headline Flipper and Stripper.
Oh, yeah.
Um, It ran for 12 weeks. There's photos online of this. It looks amazing. There is an urban myth at the theatre, which is now named the Peacock Theatre, that is haunted by the ghost of a dead dolphin.
Wow.
However, the only two dolphins that were there, neither of them died during their time there. They died. They died a few years. Stephen, are you aware of a place called Flamingo Land in Yorkshire, formerly
Okay.
Flamingo
Oh,
Park?
yes, I've been any number of times in my youth to it's
Okay,
and go past it on the way to Whitby. So
right. So,
yes.
yep. So Pixie and Penny were housed at Flamingo Land from 75 to 77. They were then sent on a misguided tour of the Far East to Taiwan, returned after 9 months, and then both died in 77 from a viral skin disease caught in the Far East.
We've all done it.
Yeah, but look it
Well,
up. Look it up. It's called the Royalty Follies, and there's pictures. There's loads of
oh
pictures
my God.
of the dolphins and these half-clad women.
So this man at the time was like a soft porn empire, wasn't he?
He
He had all these
was. It
soft
was the
porn
Raymond's Review
magazines,
Var.
and he had some clubs and stuff,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But he was trying to do Playboy, wasn't he?
Hmm.
Cut price Playboy.
It's
Yeah,
There's a film. I think Steve Coogan plays him.
yeah. Look
Look
of
of
Love.
Love. Yep,
Yes.
and it's mentioned in the movie. It's not you
Oh
don't see it, but it's
wow.
mentioned in the script.
Okay.
Mm.
Okay. Um, there was just odd stuff all the way through. Like I'll tell you one bit that on the rewatch I caught was basically a woman comes in and shows him her breasts, right?
Yeah.
Because she wants to be in the movies,
Mhm.
right? Totally gratuitous,
There was
right?
no need for that
There was
whatsoever, was
absolutely
it?
no need for that scene. But it set up a sort of character arc that didn't work as well. Because at that point he says, "No, I'm not interested in movies." That's what he basically he's like, "No, I'm not getting into that game."
Yeah.
And then immediately and I don't want to spoil the ending, but quite immediately after the sex scene, about a girl that he appears to have a connection with
Yep.
because he chucks out other women to be with her, even though
Yep.
Mac's taking a mickey out of him. He even breaks off his business partnership over this.
Hmm.
So he has a connection with her. But then the first thing he talks about in the morning is, "Oh, I could get you in films. You'd be
Yeah.
great."
Yeah.
And it's
Share
like,
you
well,
share you
that
with
doesn't
everybody else. Yeah.
work. That doesn't work. That doesn't work. Because earlier he was saying, "Oh, don't worry anymore." If he'd have said in that scene, "Yeah, I'm thinking about film, so I'll certainly consider it."
I
That's all
think,
it needed to be. It just
yeah,
didn't work. It was
but I
so
think that's gearing more towards the exploitation of her because she comes across as quite simple-minded,
yeah,
this obsession with the dolphin, and he's totally exploiting her.
yeah.
So perhaps
I could get you
she's the
into
right one to
films.
be exploited, and make movies because she's not going to argue with him.
Yeah. So actually, what you saying that has made this make more sense to me because I
Mm.
just didn't understand what the through line was at all. But
That's
actually,
why I think it
exploitation
is.
is the thing,
Yeah,
right?
I
And
think
Hubbard's
so.
character's way more interested. Way more interested.
Mm.
Hubbard and the girl is way more interested than Dave. And the girl,
Yeah,
Dave and the Dolphin. Should have called it Dave and the
David
Dolphin.
the dolphin.
Dave and the Dolphin. Yeah, there's a new title. That's a better one
Yeah.
than Buddy Boy. Yeah.
Yeah, and while I totally agree, this is like the weirdest and weakest one. I still quite like watching it.
It's
'Cause it's
fascinating,
just
but
it's not quite car crash. I don't mean that. It's just it
Well,
was just interesting. I think Hubbard makes it work for me. Yeah, not make it work. Hubbard makes it interesting for me.
highlight. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, the fourth one aired on the 6th of November. So I mean that means. Thinking of it, Buddy Boy aired quite close to Halloween.
Oh, of all the ones to be, selected for that period.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Whereas Baby was more, Guy Fawkes Night. And
absolutely.
Baby is probably the closest we're getting to real folk horror again, right?
Hmm.
Of all these. And I always feel like Guy Fawkes and folk horror aren't that far apart. The whole bonfire thing, if nothing else.
Yeah.
Right? So yeah, in this one, we get husband and wife. Vet again. He loves his vets, doesn't he? Loves his vets.
Oh, yeah. Think of that.
Moving
Yeah.
into a new place, and the husband's a terrible human being, basically.
It's a typical Nigel Kneale male character.
Yeah,
Insensitive, dismissive of his wife, treats her
he's
concerns
he's
with like this
appalling.
casual
He's appalling.
cruelty.
Yeah, he is quite awful. And we also get is it P.T. McKenna as his
Yeah.
sort of vet colleague,
Mhm.
and Peter McKenna's wife. So there's a bit more characters in this. There's builders around, kicking around. It's
Yep.
in there. and stuff like that. I was thinking, are these going to be like the builders from Dead of Night? Is it going to be a bit like that? But it turns out they're not. They're just builders, right? They're reasonable people. Uh, but yeah, what an interesting one, an uncovered thing. Um, Behind the walls for the renovation. Reminded me a lot. I don't know if you guys have seen it, and I think I might have even mentioned this when we were talking about Dead of Night. There was one of those Ghosts for Christmas, a late one called Stigmata, where they they move a rock in the garden, a massive rock, and find a sort of an old skeleton under it, and it
That's
sort
it.
of releases something, right?
Yeah.
This is a bit like that, right? This is a bit
This
like that.
probably the highlight for me, this one.
Hmm.
Possibly the only one out of all six to actually feature a beast, almost, because
Hmm.
so far we haven't seen any animals.
Yeah.
It would have fitted perfectly within the Hammer House of Horror series rather than the Tales of the
Yes.
Unexpected. It is definitely a Hammer House of Horror style episode. Um, Kept me absolutely fixated. I had seen this one previously, but a long, long time ago. And it's just one of those endings that has gone down in TV folklore that
Yes.
back in the era when you'd only be screening this once, and if you missed it, you'd never, everyone would have been, did you see that thing on Saturday night? Because it was unbelievable, basically. What you see on the screen at the ending is like, I've got to tell people, they will never believe me what was on TV on ITV that night because it is pure horror, this one. Absolute pure horror.
Yeah, and well acted as well. The actually, you know what? I think I may have picked this. I've just realised there's some connections with Dead of Night. I might have
Mm.
picked this because there's themes in this episode that were there in Dead of Night. Both the exorcism. You remember the woman renovating an old farmhouse,
Yeah,
uh, and
Yeah.
a woman sobbing, a woman in trouble story. And this is a pregnant woman in trouble story, right?
yeah, true.
Um,
Yeah.
so it might be subconsciously I made those connections, and maybe why I picked this one for this episode, right? Um, Stephen, what did you think of this one?
I think that, like you say, the folk horror is very much the area of this, which is perhaps um, maybe there was a thread that could have been better exploited in more episodes or further series, rather than some of the others. I mean, like the Buddy Boy one could have replaced with some more of this ilk. Um, it's the idea of things historically being um, buried or cemented into walls or whatever. I mean, there's bodies as well as um, artifacts and things that have um, witchery to them. Is a trope which is ripe for exploitation in this way, and the performances, particularly the main ones, I think that the wife of the older vet, I think her character was, I think, didn't quite work. But the rest, I mean, particularly the main couple, the younger couple, very strong in different ways because the vulnerability that is being shown by the wife and how scared she is absolutely convincing and really takes you. Whereas the arrogance and misogyny of her husband is perfectly exploited and put across. But yeah, overall, this is a stronger episode. And one of the ones that does more justify the length actually spent on screen with it. And I think that potentially that almost the high point of the entire series. But yeah, I think they could have done more like this to tie in with that folk horror. I think that was an untapped vein that was maybe not realised until after maybe broadcast that this was a stronger one.
Mark, did we mention gaslighting when we spoke about Dead of Night?
We may have. I
We
remember
did,
us
didn't we?
discussing that gaslighting
We
because there was this mention they talk about gaslighting.
have you seen the
That?
film?
Have you seen the film? And he goes, no, no, not the. They were arguing about whether it was a play or a film,
Yeah,
which made us laugh because the term gaslighting, right?
exactly. Well, if that carries
Did
on through here, because she's suffering, isn't she suffering from a past miscarriage? This is her second
this?
pregnancy, I
Yeah,
believe.
that gets
Yeah.
mentioned late on when he's in the
Well,
bath, isn't it? He starts
yeah,
to.
well, he very, that getting mentioned very callously.
Mm.
It
Yeah,
does again is showing men being assholes. The way that's thrown in has just been a comment.
Because
Okay, if
mm,
you've got an idea, if you're dealing more with the birth and death and things of animals, okay, we know that in the agricultural communities, they can have a different attitude towards life and death and stuff, particularly with
yeah.
livestock. But when it comes to human beings, you should still realise that saying that to a woman, even in this day and age that this is set, that's not cool. Really,
no,
that's not appropriate. That's just blatantly like insensitive.
it continues throughout because we pretty much only see what goes on through Joe's eyes.
Yeah.
She sees like a something in the woods, doesn't she? Some sort of shadowy figure. Um,
And then there's chatter, isn't there, about
yeah, there's this awful sense of
animals dying around
something.
by or not having offspring properly and things like that,
Yeah,
right?
and Peter doesn't see anything. He doesn't witness any of this, and he just dismisses her behaviour as just take it calm, dear. You know you're pregnant and all this sort of stuff. Really sort of placating her. Um,
She is isolated. Even the couple, even the wife of the colleague, is just one of those shouty. Here's my opinion. It is absolute
yeah,
truth. You'll
yeah.
be all right, dear. All that kind of stuff.
Mm.
And so
Can I
she is
also,
totally isolated.
yeah, can I also point out that she's the only one that witnesses the cat's behaviour when she brings the cat back in the basket. Um, and just to point out that where we highlighted that the sound design on the rat episode was absolutely fantastic. Whether this was Percy Edwards or a real cat, whoever was responsible for that cat's howling, screaming thing, that was so annoying and it went on for so long.
Oh,
It sounded like someone impersonating a cat
it,
to me.
it
Badly.
yeah, it was. Yeah, that was a negative on this. It was too much and too bad. Yeah,
Mm. But again, she's the only one that witnesses the cat's behaviour. And again, it's sort of dismissed by the husband, and it's there, dear, don't worry, sort of thing. And it's that gaslighting theme again that we mentioned in Dead of Night. Um, and the dark history of the house and all of this. It's just building up and closing in on her and sending her more and more insane, almost.
Yeah. Um, this is a hell of an episode, right?
Hmm.
That creature design is creepy as hell, and they're talking
Yeah.
about it like I'm not even sure it was ever born.
Mm-hmm.
And it looks like a lamb with claws, and they can't work out what it is, can
No.
they?
And its legs are folded up into itself, and it's
Yeah.
yeah, it sort of looked like a pig at one point, and yeah, horrible looking thing.
I'm just looking at IMDb. There's one bit of trivia against this episode, which is screenwriter Russell T Davies
No.
describes this as the
Oh,
most frightening thing I've ever seen.
oh, I thought he was the screenwriter. Then I thought, how the heck could he have been the
No,
screenwriter?
no,
This is Nigel
he is
Kneale.
a screenwriter. Yeah, no, the most frightening thing says this is the most frightening thing he's ever seen was this episode, which yeah, is pretty it's frightening.
I
Yeah,
can imagine, because he was probably a young man when this was
yeah.
screened,
If you see this
and
as your head
it's going to
screaming
influence
nightmares,
you.
right?
Yeah, it's going to influence you. Yeah, absolutely.
There must have been something in the air in the this era of the 70s because Doctor Who went the same way. There was loads of intense stuff in Doctor
It was a
Who.
great era for Doctor Who.
Yeah, it
Absolutely. Yeah,
wasn't great
yeah,
era for Doctor Who.
yeah,
But yeah, there was something in the air. Things were getting looser, I think.
yeah,
Jane Wymark is very good in this, very good. And that
absolutely.
weird
Yeah,
screeching
yeah.
ending. Yeah, yeah. It's really something. It could go along with like numerous folk horror movies, bit like Blood on Satan's Claw
Yeah.
vibe, and things like that. And Nigel Kneale kind of I don't know. He kind of went quiet after this, apart from Quatermass conclusion, which Simon McCulkendale was in.
He was,
funnily
yeah,
enough.
yeah.
And he was a much more sympathetic character. And he did also went on to do The Woman in White, didn't he? That or is it Woman in Black? Woman in Black. Sorry, I got the wrong color there. But yeah, this really works. It's interesting that the men are just pretty much universally awful, and not listen. He clearly never wasn't paying attention at all. Didn't read the room at all. It was clear his wife did not want to be there at all, and she had more and more reasons not to be there, and he was kind of just not paying attention. Yeah, men are terrible. There you go. Any last thoughts? I mean, we are going to recap, so we'll probably be discussing this one in the recap, right? Compared to some of the others. Any last thoughts on this specifically before we move?
No.
Possibly my favourite episode. Certainly the most disturbing, particularly at the ending. Sort of stands out that it, as I say, it could quite easily have slotted into either a Tales of the Unexpected or almost definitely a Hammer House of Horror series.
It's quite reminiscent of some of the Hammer House of Horrors.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I was thinking of that one with Patricia Quinn in about the witch. Actually, if that means anything to anyone.
Yeah,
right,
I know
let's go
Patricia Quinn. Yeah,
yeah. Let's move on to the next one. What Big Eyes? Okay, this was a smallish cast, not as small as some of them, a smallish cast, but an RSPCA inspector who thinks someone who's selling on animals is just making up stuff, you know, and selling them illegally, you know, and just putting silly names in where he sold them. And basically he follows up a lead where he finds a wolf who's been delivered to a tiny pet shop. All right. Michael Kitchen, very young Michael Kitchen, who looks quite a bit like Martin Shaw, actually.
I thought he looked like Ray Brooks.
Yeah, and Ray Brooks, both of them. Them three could be brothers in something. Right? But basically, he's an RSPCA inspector dealing with a stroppy fella who I've seen in loads of things, but I couldn't tell you his name or what else I've seen him in. But he's
the guy in the pet shop or the guy that sold the animals?
The guy that sold the animals.
That's Harry Cross out of Brookside.
Brookside, okay. But I've seen him in loads of other
stuff. He's been in loads
of stuff. He was very much a character actor that was in lots of things.
Loads of comedies previous to it, lots of sitcoms. He was a real comic actor.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Anyway, Michael Kitchen's character decides he's going to follow one of these leads because he just does not believe like a timber wolf has been sold to a tiny little pet shop. And he goes to the pet shop and says, "Do you stock any unusual species here?" Starts asking, and the woman behind the counter sort of says, "No, you know, budgies and hamsters is, you know, it's all that." And essentially he mentions, and she goes, "I want to know if I'm in trouble for it. What is this about?" And he explains, I've heard I've got this thing that you had a wolf delivered here." And he goes, she immediately says, "You need to talk to my father." And then basically this inspector goes and talks to the old man, who is about the same age as his daughter, from what I can work out.
Well, yeah, I think there's something in the trivia about that there's only a 3 years gap between the two of them. In actual fact, I can't remember whether she might actually be older than him.
I think she was. She's 3 years older than him.
Oh, brilliant!
Yeah, certainly there's. And I think
which I found perplexing because
I think he's made to look older than he actually is.
There is a bit
only slightly.
Yeah. And we get the basically it's Patrick McGee, who is a really interesting actor. I always find he gives a really strident performance in stuff I've seen him. What's he been in? I mean, he's been in some Cooper. Was he
Clockwork Orange? I think he was 2001 as well.
Right?
Yeah,
he was the author in Clockwork Orange.
Yeah,
he gets attacked, right?
Yeah,
but he's been in all sorts of other horror films. I believe he was in one of the episodes of Hammer, House of Horror. I could be wrong.
Wasn't he in Man for All Seasons as well that me and Scott?
We try to forget that, don't we?
Disappointingly watched.
Yeah, Barry Lyndon as well. He was.
I'm going to have to watch it so I can control you.
No, you don't. No.
I'll tell you where you
might. Scene when,
I'll tell you where you would have known him from, Mark. He was in Asylum in 1972.
That's it. Amicus.
Yeah, and
Amicus,
now the
yes.
Screaming Starts he was in as well.
I think he was in a Conan film as
Oh,
well,
was he?
weirdly. Very briefly, it's like a high priest where he's going, or maybe it was, no, it's Hawk the Slayer.
Yeah, just
It's Hawk
checking
the Slayer.
now.
Hawk the
Mask of the
Slayer.
Red Death with Vincent Price as well. Very
Amazing,
must have been
amazing.
quite young in that as
So it
well. Yeah.
feels like he's a bit of a genre actor into horror
Well, there's
genre
a lot of
actor.
historical stuff as well. He was in
Yeah,
Young
Yeah,
yeah.
Winston,
yeah.
Cromwell.
He's a striking actor. He's got
Yes.
quite the voice, right? He's got quite the voice, which he uses to good effect in this.
Character actor, I think, is the
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
Um, and I think his performance. I mean, he's very strong in this, except when he's pretending to be dead and he's very clearly breathing.
I got spotted
Um,
that. Yep.
um, they could have put just some form of structure over his chest, of even in just some cardboard or something, up to
So
stop it being
obvious.
obvious. But otherwise, I mean, yes, it's slightly comical looking at the death scene, and the twitching, and but I think it's meant to obviously be that it's not clearly not happening, and it's just in his mind. So I think we can forgive the way it comes across, but it is a strong performance all the way through, and I think that somebody who is doing what he's doing, and then backing it up with the pseudo scientific theory behind it. I mean, I think it was quite interesting. Almost a throwaway point that was made with regards to the Red Riding Hood fairy tale, saying that even a child would be able to tell the difference between a wolf and a human grandmother, and that's where the lycanthropy comes in. I think that's an interesting premise to put forward as a reinterpretation of a lot of fairy tales. Potentially, you could say, was that going on, but so that was an interesting idea. But I think that it was slightly imbalanced. The plotting, it could have been. I think there was bits that didn't need to be in there that could have then times we spent a bit more on
yeah,
the theories, without it just being a conversation where you just get dialogue heavy. There could be a bit more of in there, but overall, I think this was still one of the stronger ones. If it had been maybe tighter again, like we've said with regards to the runtime, I think it would have been incredibly strong if it had been tighter on the runtime. I think it was just
yeah,
overdid it a little bit.
yeah. One of the things I liked about it was it appeared to be a mad scientist story and exposition, almost Frankensteinian exposition about the nature of things, right? But then it clearly swerved into an obsessed man has basically damaged his family, his daughter,
Mm.
with his obsession by
It's the most heartbreaking episode, I
yes,
think, particularly the
and
ending.
how he's treated his daughter for all of
Yeah,
this as like being not up to his standards, and things like that. It was kind of an interesting treatise on sort of masculine. It wasn't quite toxic masculine. It's more of obsessive, toxic obsession, right? Um, so I thought that was really interesting. I felt the end was kind of irresolute in a good way, in that you thought, oh, it's going to be this. Oh, it isn't that, right?
yeah.
Oh, he was just this bloke who his obsession was just totally destructive.
He was the beast in this particular
Yes, yes,
episode, and as I say, the heartbreaking ending where she's grieving basically a man who was her kidnapper, a captor almost.
yes, yes,
She's led this trapped life for is this pathetic figure that's doing this desperate attempt to do something that has got no way of ever succeeding.
yeah,
He's a maniac. He's a proper mad scientist
yeah, and
in
doing
this.
terrible things to animals
Yeah.
in his pursuits, and things like that.
And terrible to his daughter, and as you
Mm.
say, that Stockholm thing of creating a bond between the captor and absolutely the exploration of that the last few minutes, like Scott says, her reaction to his death, which flips and then flips again, is, I think, very key to what makes this a better one of the episodes.
Yeah, it's it's an exploration of victimhood, really, and you don't realise that until near the end, right? And you just know that this character is never going to get over this. It's tainted them for life, having to exist within this relationship so long. As long as he is, if you go by age, as long as he is. But an interesting one indeed. And Patrick McGee sells the. I mean, I do like the fact there's a lot of techno babble, Wizards did its sort of stuff, but it's delivered with such conviction and with a sort of Neil does that, but with a lot. He's not really interested in he does enough to throw in a few words here and there. It talks about DNA and stuff like that.
There's that.
But
what does he say? He says it's all in the protein. He says, doesn't he? And he's trying to explain it in this pseudo scientific babble almost, and that makes him even more frightening because he's generally got some scientific knowledge, but at the same time, the route he's going down is futile. It's never going to happen.
Yeah, and I mean, Michael Kitchen's character only goes back because he gets a tip off from the first bloke that he's bought another wolf.
Yeah.
So an interesting one for sure. Okay, let's go into the last one of this set, the number 6, the dummy. Wow. Big cast in this one, right? They went to town. I think they must have saved money on the first 5 just so they could have this big cast. And we see Clive Swift again.
A welcome return to Clive Swift. Yeah.
I like Bunny. Bunny was his character.
You don't hear many people called Bunny anymore, do you? That was a 70s thing.
Bunny. We get a few. Bernard Horsfall's the main lead in this as Clyde Boyd, a sort of actor who's been typecast as I don't know. It's kind of a weird figure. It's called the Dummy. It's a horror figure in the same thing as Jason.
It looks like a burnt womble. Let's face it.
It looks like someone put a giant pig face on an ent.
Oh, it looked a bit like Bernard Horsfall we know from Doctor Who episode, but the Peladon episodes, the monster of Peladon.
Oh yes,
Agador. It was a bit like a very dodgy Agador.
Yeah, and they make play of the fact that he's got special claws built into the suit that are spring loaded to make them more effective, but they're also lethal. And it's like, oh my god, what have they done? And we also get another actor. We all talk about older films on our other. On Real Britannia and so on.
Yeah.
Thorley Waters.
What a name. Absolutely,
As a kind of an actor that doesn't put up with anything. I'm doing my scene, I'm going. It's all that kind of but Thorley Waters. A lot of comic movie stuff, right? With Thorley Waters.
Yeah, a lot of the time playing like the stuffy upper class general in some army situation and those kind of things. It was that was what he was a lot typed
civil servants. I think he was Dr. Watson in a Sherlock Holmes as well, possibly.
Oh definitely see that. And a few other faces I recognised. Won't over-egg that. Maybe they'll come up organically, but there was a few faces in this. Essentially, this man's playing in this big suit, which is proper sweaty and big, in this series of horror films. Apparently this is the 6th one, and he's basically filming a scene where he's attacking a bloke who's looking at a crypt in a graveyard at night, right? All in a studio, but that's what they're trying to film, that scene. But one of the other actors who looks like the whole series is set during like the Napoleonic Wars or something from the costumes. But one of the other actors laughs as they're doing the scene, which causes Clyde to storm off. But it's more than that, isn't it? I mean, apart from him laughing, it turns out this man has run off with Clyde's wife and daughter.
Yeah.
And it's kind of tragic because this man is in this contract for this thing. The producers have callously gone on with another actor who has stolen his wife. Even though there's some sympathy, because Bunny's like, well, I didn't know.
Didn't know, yeah.
But it turns out, I thought I'd better not tell you. It's like, what? How terrible must that sound? And also, there's a female reporter there, like trying to get an interview, which doesn't lead anywhere. I think they should have just cut that whole idea. It didn't go anywhere, did it?
Yeah, I think that was a waste
Yeah,
of screen time, and obviously, budget. They could have done more with that, and they didn't, and then it ended up. I mean, okay, it shows on one side, sure, there is one person who is genuinely interested
yeah,
in the Brian Horsfall character. Well, him as an actor. That perhaps the only person who's interested in him as in any respect as a person, whereas the rest are either just see him as the dummy, or the see him as being just a way to achieve their own ends. And she's not interested in this flashy actor who's done the damage, and she's not interested in speaking to the director or producer or whatever. She's singular in
she
her
wants to
purpose
talk to
there.
Clyde. Yeah,
So
yeah,
she's perhaps the only one that does show that genuine interest in him, and even later on, it shows that she is the only one that's got that genuineness about her. I think, but other than that, there wasn't a need for her to be there, and that was a distraction that wasn't worth it.
Yeah, it's
yeah. It would have made more sense to me if the wife hadn't turned up and she'd have been the one going in to talk
Yes,
to him. It
yeah,
would
yes.
have dramatically made
Or
more
the wife
sense.
had tried to talk him around and
Yeah,
didn't, and then she did.
yeah,
But
or something
I
along
suppose
those
she is
lines.
a little bit of exposition, I suppose, with her when she's talking to the Clive Swift producer character, and he lies to her basically about what conversation he had that then resulted in him
mm,
going off the rails, because he does manipulate him for his own ends, despite being allegedly his friend, and has put him in that situation in the first place, knowing that what has happened, despite allegedly being his friend. So it does expose him even more for being the problem in this, and but yeah, it wasn't really properly used. That it could have been done away with.
Yeah, it was. It was. Like I say, there was. It felt like the cast was way too big. They didn't need all these people in this, and they must have had a lot of budget left. That's all I can think. But the main characters I liked. I liked, Bunny. He was sympathetic to Clyde. I kind of like that. But one of the things about this particular episode, it was a little more on the nose cathartic than some of the ones we've seen, which have been more ambiguous. You wanted the bad guy, the bloke that stole his wife, to get his comeuppance, and he certainly did, right?
yeah,
But then also there was also the poor actor that got killed probably when Clyde went kind of mad.
Yeah, when he goes mad, it starts off quite well, but then it
Yeah,
ends up being there's like a a wallpaper trestle table that just gets violently thrown aside, but without any real effect to it. And it
there's
becomes
a bit of that. Yeah,
increasingly feeling like they're running out of things for him to actually throw around.
yeah,
Which is gets so it bridges. I think again that I could have, if they condensed that, it wouldn't have shown a slight comical element to it. And but yeah, the poor actor who did end up suffering. And again, somebody who wasn't the person who'd done any harm to him
yeah, yeah.
was the one that suffered. Yeah.
yeah. This is
Um,
the one I think I had the most fun with watching.
it was
Um,
kind of fun.
but at the same time, at the heart of it, it's very dark because it's the story of a man that's probably only famous for one role, and it's a role that his face is never seen. So he has no identity. His identity is a rubber suit. That's how people know him.
Yeah,
And when you add the fact that his wife has now left him and taken the daughter, and he's being taunted by his wife's lover being on the same set as him, his own personal failures are just gnawing away at him. I
yeah,
don't want to go too deep into it, but then the suit of the dummy becomes the only personality he's got left, basically, because there's nothing of him as a man.
Yeah.
He's only got the dummy
It
costumes,
becomes his creation.
and it
It's,
becomes his creation.
I mean, you could have an analogy if Christopher Lee went mad on set and thought it was Dracula.
There you
That was
go.
Well,
what it
there
was
is the intimation, I think, maybe not Hammer directly, but that ilk of things, and certainly, there's plenty of them. Christopher Lee didn't like initially being just Frankenstein as monster, and not, and certainly the same with Karloff and stuff. The people who do get stuck as the in the monster suit, but don't get to actually show their range or do proper acting. That there's an element of the psychosis that then creeps into them and frustrations. So this was quite meta in some ways, I suspect, in that capacity.
Mm.
But it could have been, like you say, if Christopher Lee had gone and gone off on a rant because he hadn't got the breaks as a proper actor like he deserved. But then seeing the other actors around them that maybe don't deserve getting somewhere. But no, it's an interesting, obviously, cast that they brought in of people who have had Foley Walters, such as, and wasn't the main guy's wife? Wasn't she previously married to Michael Caine? Is it?
Is that her? I've
Yeah,
forgotten her name. I know you mean, but I've forgotten her name.
yeah. I think she was
No.
married to Michael Caine for a
Okay.
while.
Okay.
His first wife, right?
Yeah, his first wife. Yeah, so
Patricia Haynes. Patricia
and
Haynes.
yeah, she died shortly after this. In fact, she's probably dead by the time it was broadcast.
Oh wow.
Oh wow, wow.
Because she died of lung cancer. So I think she might look that up actually.
Mm.
I also had a bit of a chuckle about this because this is clearly an old bloke's what an old bloke might imagine that horror films are like. And this is clearly not a 70s horror film. You would not make a 70s horror film of this kind. You might in the 80s when everyone's on cocaine, but it's not a 70s. It just feels.
It's a
No one can
satire.
see this.
Yeah, but it's almost a satire of the British horror film industry at the time, because we were only churning out Hammer horrors and saucy
I don't
sex
think it was
comedies.
ridiculous. Well, I kind of did think it was ridiculous, but I don't think it undermined the story in any way.
No, I mean this one, my only criticism was the name of the monster, the name of the thing being called the Dummy.
Yeah, the Beast would have been so much
Yeah,
better.
and when you get the tagline at the end,
No, I was going to say that it would have been great to finish off the series with an episode called The Beast. I think that would
there you
that would
go,
have been quite right,
yeah.
or at least have the yeah. So,
but the
or
thing
at
is
least
with
have
this one,
the character called the Beast.
the
Even
Beast, yeah, the Dummy really took me out of it. It was just like, oh, that's really pathetic. That doesn't fit. But the good thing about this, the horror in this is not gothic horror. It's not supernatural. It's the horror is very sort of all realistic in the fact that it's about a mental breakdown. This
Yeah, it's a
guy is
psychotic break,
suffering
isn't it?
all the way
Yeah.
through. Yeah.
Yeah, and he still embodies I nearly said the Beast, the Dummy, even without the costume at the end.
Yeah.
Right? So yes.
Very strong episode. I did like this one.
Yeah.
Mm.
Okay, cool. Right. So we've gone all through all of these. Let's put Moraine to one side and just talk about the six. I would like to hear, what do you think was the best two and the worst one for you guys? Scott,
Top
what were the
two.
best? Yeah.
Top two. Baby number one.
Yeah.
Just because of the pure horror of it and the performances. And it just kept me on edge throughout that one because there was nothing scuttling about my feet. There was no no vermin in my house while I was watching that. That purely entertained me, that one, without any any other effects. And I'm going to put the Dummy at number two. It's very close between that and Barty's Party, I think.
Okay. Yeah,
But the Dummy, yeah, because it was different and it actually it became quite. although there was the fantastical elements and it looked quite comical of this great big rubber suit running about, the actual horror of what was going on in Bernard Horsfall's mind made this really strong for me. That was quite believable. His breakdown.
Yeah. Oh, that's fair enough. What would you consider the weakness?
For me, the weakest would have been Buddy Boy.
Yeah, I think that was. I was
Just because I
expecting
didn't
that.
get it. I didn't get it, and it was
Yeah.
I couldn't work out where it was going.
I think
Although
you had a
we've,
better idea than I did, though, because I had no clue what it was about.
I
But at least
think we've
it
worked
kind
it
of
out
made
between
sense.
us a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's the weakest out of the six in my mind. And
Yeah.
if I had to include Moraine would be up there in the top three.
Yes.
Mm.
Yes. Stephen, what about you?
Concur completely with regards to Buddy Boy being the weakest one. It was the least coherent, but also I just think the characters, with one exception, there was no strength to the characters or and certainly no likability to virtually any of them. The female character, if she'd been a bit stronger or a bit more nuanced, or there was something more to it, might have been likable. But she was not pretty much a nothing. So um, that did, I think, be very clear for me as the weakest. Although I like Special Offer as a good starter to it, and there's plenty of elements to that I did like. I think Baby and What Big Eyes are both strong ones for me. If maybe the dummy, the pacing, and the actual execution was better. But yeah, I think that there was a bit more of an interesting idea behind the other two, and particularly What Big Eyes. I think that there was, yeah, that as a premise, I think is what helped me like that one more than some of the other ones. I think the Barty's Party was, yeah, it still does feel a bit derivative, and I think also, although it was well performed, it just felt elongated, really a bit, which is a criticism of virtually all of them, that they were a bit too long compared to what actually the content was.
That's fair. That's fair. For myself, Buddy Boy, yeah, is at the low for me. It's the lowest of these. And for me, the best one is Baby. I think we all agree Baby's the strongest one,
Yeah.
right? Of these. But for me, the second one, the one I like best out of the remaining, is Special Offer. I really like that
Oh, cool.
performance. I think Pauline Quirk's performance just makes it for me.
Mm.
And the special
Yeah,
effects were pretty good. But I think it's really her performance of like not really being a bit not really understand what's going on, being a bit stupid in a way,
Yeah.
presenting it well, and her being kind of obsessed with a manager. I have seen in jobs, lonely people do latch onto figures of authority, even though they're not particularly nice to them. I've seen it, so I kind of understand her arc pretty strongly. Buddy Boys, I think I've already said Buddy Boy's the weakest. However, I have to say I like all of these. Buddy Boy is the weakest, but weirdly, when I think about this show, I tend to think of Baby, Special Offer, Buddy Boy. Those three come
Mm.
back to me. I think there's just some. We didn't even mention it. Buddy Boy's use of music is truly bizarre as well. It's
mm.
overbearing and weird, and the rest of them don't use music, and they're way more effective for it.
Yeah.
Um, Buddy Boy's use of music is also pretty bad. Um, but I just find it so intriguing as an episode. That's why I think of it when I think of this, because it's such an intriguing, weird premise that it's like almost like, what is this story? What's it about? I don't
It's
understand.
it's not a
Um,
failure of an episode because it gets people talking,
yeah, Mm.
mainly because they can't fathom it out, I think.
yeah,
And probably quite groundbreaking at the time
yeah,
that, that people were being confronted with this bizarre story and you really don't know where it's going to go.
yeah.
And and we've only really managed to work out what the episode's about, we think, just through sitting here talking about it today, because even now I'm still not convinced we've got it right. I don't know.
Yeah, and it's one of those you come back and you think maybe it's about this. And you think, well, why did she do that? Yeah, I don't want to get into the end too much, but there's certain things that why. It's a lot of that. And I'm with you, Moraine. I would put very strong, very strong
Yes, yeah, I
story.
loved Moraine. Very, very good episode.
I'm not sure I don't like it more than Baby, and Baby is my number one.
Mm.
I think I might like Moraine a little more than Baby.
Yeah, I like your idea, Mark, of Dead of Night and Baby as a double bill as well.
Yes.
That
Yeah, I
really
just feel
works.
like it's weird that there's two episodes of of that Dead of Night that kind of plug in to Baby quite
Yeah.
directly. Renovating an old place where there's residual evil, stroke,
Hmm.
bad things, and woman in trouble.
Yeah.
Um, Both of those are quite kind of intriguing. In many respects, I was thinking of the film Repulsion with Baby, which is a lone woman, or even Rosemary's Baby, a woman in trouble, right?
Yeah,
Surrounded
Yeah,
by
yeah,
hostile
yeah.
elements,
again, yeah, nobody believing what she's saying, and it's all
Yeah,
from her
yeah,
point of view as to
yeah.
what's going on. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Okay. Right, guys. Thank you for coming on for this. I hope you enjoyed these. And Stephen, big recommend to try and get to Moraine if you can at some point.
Righto.
I think you'll really dig it. It's a really, just seeing Bernard Lee doing something completely different and doing
Yeah.
it really well as
Very
well.
well. Yeah.
Because he's very one note as M, isn't he? In what we've seen him in that. But yes. So thank you very much, guys. I really appreciate it. Do you want to talk a little about Real Britannia for my listeners?
Real Britannia, it's the complete history of British cinema from silent era to modern times. Almost weekly now, fortnightly at the most. Mark's appearing pretty much every other episode now, mate. A regular part of the team covering Hammer Horrors, Carry On Films, and everything in between. And looking forward to, we've got a busy year next year. We've got loads of stuff lined up and downloadable anywhere you download your podcasts.
And a great show, even when I'm not on it.
It's a cheap way for somebody to basically get degree level knowledge of British cinema without having to pay for it, because it's we really
we're educational.
Set the standard and educational, and we are the absolute deciders on what is British cinema and what isn't, and so if we don't consider it to be worthwhile, then it isn't. So we save people a lot of time by being the experts.
And to be honest, it is the only place you will find the definitive British Hall of Fame of actors and actresses.
Oh yeah, that's true. I'm just thinking, I'm laughing at the thought of a film degree having a lecture on Party. That is amazing.
Wait till we get to Confessions of Pop Performer.
Man. Okay. All right, we're going to sign off. Please say goodbye, guys.
Mark, thanks for having us, mate. Been a pleasure. Goodbye.
Yep. Take care. Thank you.
And thanks from me again. But before I go, may I ask, is anybody out there?